Hey, what's up, folks? Jayborino here, starting a new custom campaign for Starcraft 2. This is called Xeyed Nascency, created by SC2 Mapster user Supernova134 on Battle.net. He is user Solstice. Now, the Xeyed race was originally a melee race, and you've seen me do some replay showcases of it. He's transitioned into a campaign. There are 3 missions out, and he's continuing more as we go forward, so I do plan on showcasing the first 3 missions here. So, Mission 1, Evaluation. Select Umojan scientists, led by Dr. Riley Allen and his brother Dr. Carl Allen, work on a special project, Project Xeyed. They've successfully created 2 strains of creatures based on Zerg. The Xeyed evaluation test is now. Is everything set? Yes, they've just released the scavengers into the main test area, and the security dummies are all in place. If the evaluation test has failed, it's likely they will close the project, at least as far as ourselves are concerned. Don't worry, I have faith in our work thus far. Alrighty. So scavengers are the workers for Xeyed. They're very similar to drones. You could say they have a little extra tail, though. It's kind of neat. What do we have here? Oh, that's fitting, I suppose. There's hive-mind emulators all throughout this room just to show that this is a project. We're being completely controlled. The test has officially begun. We must start by ordering our scavengers to build a scavenger nest. Okay, so let's do that. It's very similar to Zerg. It has a very similar feel to Zerg initially, but you can see the scavengers don't actually become the building. So again, if you haven't watched my Xeyed replay cast, my Xeyed showcases, these do function a little differently. They do build like SCVs, where the worker just continuously builds it, but then you get to keep the worker after, which is really, really neat. The scavenger is the main Xeyed. The scavenger nest is the main Xeyed structure. It can create workers and receive mined resources. It also unlocks the feeding pool. So there's a missing icon here for the Xeyed tooltip. Now, this may just been a thing with patch 3.3. These maps were made before 3.3. Now that the scavenger nest is complete, a feeding pool must be built. They provide necessary nutrients for the Xeyed race. The feeding pool provides Xeyed with supply to allow the creation of more units. The feeding pool has a unique perk. It will heal up to 2 units at a small radius, up to 60% health, but will not affect units with more than that. Also unlocks the Xeyed den. So, if you've watched my other replays, you'll know that I refer to feeding pools as a poor man's moonwell. You can build them anywhere. Ooh, excuse me. You can build them anywhere, but and they do spread the creep. Now, Xeyed does receive the same speed bonus on creep, but I don't believe you have to build your buildings on creep. I'm not 100% sure about that. We'll try seeing if we can make our Xeyed den elsewhere off of creep. If we have the opportunity, let's check. We can. Okay. Now that the feeding pool is complete, you can form a Xeyed den. They're essential to the creation of a Xeyed army. So I think it kind of functions like the undead in Warcraft 3, though I guess the undead does have to build all on the blight. So you can build buildings anywhere, and I believe feeding pools are the only thing that spread creep. It's possible all buildings spread creep, though. We're going to find out. The Xeyed den is the basic army production structure. It periodically generates larvae, which in turn can be mutated into combat units. Each Xeyed den can pack up to 3 larvae, produces Xeyedlings via larva. Okay, well, let's get some more scavengers while we wait, and we'll probably want another feeding pool. Just in advance, because we have the money to do it. And then when you guys are done, just go ahead and get back to mining. So there's our Xeyed den. The Xeyed den is complete, and you can now begin making an army. We're releasing several Xeyedlings into the chamber as well. So here's our Xeyedlings. I quite like the look of these. They're very, very neat looking. So this is our tier 1 unit. They are ranged, actually. The Xeyedling is the most basic Xeyed combat unit. It is a mid-range missile attack and can only target ground. It's produced from Xeyed den via larva. Okay, so the production structures do have larva. So I'm not entirely sure how this is, we've seen this work in melee games, so it felt a little balanced. The units were quite powerful, but like the way that the actual production structures work, the fact that you can have, 2 Xeyed dens and build 6 units at a time seems really, really interesting. Also, it looks like each building does produce its own creep, so that's pretty cool. Let's just make some extra Xeyedlings. Produce 10 Xeyedlings. We have 6. So we only need a few more. I'm just going to make a few more scavengers just to get this, more saturated in case we want to be building more Xeyedlings as we go forward. Now, Xeyedlings are 2 supply. Interesting. So that's like a Zealot. Now, Xeyedlings are actually very powerful. They may not look very powerful, but they're very powerful, and you can get some interesting upgrades in them later. So they do 8 damage. Attack fairly quick, and are ranged. Okay, so we need to wait for a few more larvae. So It seems like the larvae produce about as fast as you would expect out of a hatchery. I really do like the look of this new scavenger nest. It used to look like a modified hatchery. Now it's completely different. I like it a lot. Okay, and I'm very used to losing my drones when I build Zerg buildings. These aren't Zerg, though. In fact, they look like Zerg, but they function like an interesting mix between, I think, Terran and Zerg, in my opinion. Okay, there's our 10 Zeedlings. Test Phase 1 completed. Beginning Phase 2. Destroy the gate control to access Test Phase 3. I think I'm going to go ahead and get another Zed Den. Just in case. Just in case, you know, who knows what we're actually going to need to build to complete this mission. So let's, where's the gate control? Let's see what we're up against here. It's not there. That's an actual pen. Alright, and Warbots. So this is very akin to, Mission 1 of Heart of the Swarm. So our Zeedlings, as you can see, if you recall back to the first mission of Heart of the Swarm, our Zerglings didn't do that well against the Warbots, whereas Zeedlings are just objectively better than Zerglings, without a doubt. So you don't need as many. Again, they're small. They might remind you of Zerglings, but a small pack of Zeedlings can do a lot more than a small pack of Zerglings. Okay, nice. And they do have 75 health, so that's more than Marines. That's more than Zerglings. It's just it's a very comparable amount of health to not really. It's not as much as a Zealot, right? But you know, they do cost 2 food, and I haven't really looked. How much do they cost? 75 minerals, so it is slightly better. You know, it's more cost effective than Zealots, but I wouldn't say they're quite as good. But they are ranged, so they're very, very good tier 1 units in my opinion. They're very, very good. And again, just the look of this map, I like how, you know, we've been created in a lab. It's quite interesting. Let's go ahead and get even more Zeedlings. It's possible that they're building more of these units. So let's get up here and see if we can clean this up. We're going to lose 1 Zeedling there. We are getting slowly whittled away. Let's just force our way through and just keep making more Zeedlings. And I like this. This is a nice little introduction to the Zed race. You know, just building your basic supply structures, building your basic tier 1 structures, and yeah, let's get rid of these factories because these Warbots are going to keep coming out and constantly giving us problems. So you need to move away. Let's just move you up here where you're not going to get murdered, and let's just keep sending up Zeedlings. And I could focus fire. It's more that I want to make sure that as these units spawn that I'm killing them, and you can only really do that with an auto attack. Okay, 1 down. And I'm going to move you away because you're going to get attacked first by the next spawning Warbot. There we go. Okay, and again, these units are very strong. Very, very powerful for tier 1. And then the next unit that we're going to get, I don't know if it's going to be this mission or the next one, is we get Scorpithids, which are also very good. I really, really like the early game of Zed. It's very, very powerful. And they have some very interesting spellcasters as well. Now, I think that Solstice had messaged me recently and said that that Zed was getting the nerf hammer in the melee version of Zed. Now, I don't know if that means that the campaign Zed will stay the same or not. Okay, well, we get a new Zed Den here. That's nice. So let's go ahead and add this. Here's an additional Zed Den and feeding pool for you to use. You can partially heal your units at the feeding pool, and the Zed Den will help you keep your army reinforced. Okay, and you can see we're even tearing through these Eradicators. It's very, very nice. There's the gate control, and that's going to open something. Test Phase 2 completed. Beginning Phase 3. Destroy or bypass the fortifications ahead to advance to Phase 4. Tempting to just blast through them as usual. I'm more of a run and gun, shoot through everything kind of guy, so I'll probably destroy them, though. We'll see. It might just be miserable to try to do that. I assume we go up here and it's going to loop around. Kind of a big blank area right here, but I mean there were enemy buildings there, so I suppose that makes sense. I think I'm just going to hang out and wait. Wait for my next batch of Zeedlings to catch up to me. And it's kind of nice that he gives you an extra feeding pool and he gives you an extra Zed Den as well. So it's just you know, just nice little additions to Mission 1 where you just, you know, it's an introduction. You're learning about the early game of Zed. So that's really, really cool how as you progress through the mission, he's like, here, just have some more Zed Dens in case you didn't build an extra one. You know, this isn't meant to be a tedious map. You're meant to be learning about Zed and what to expect as you go forward. So now, you know, it's meant to teach you the basic mechanics. Oh, God. Oh, God. Perhaps those were the fortifications we were meant to bypass. Maybe we could have just ran by those. I assume there's more. Let's move on in here and be a little more careful. Be on the lookout there. Okay, this is fine. Okay, so this is from the Nova missions. I think we can just outright kill these. Oh, dear. Ah, that does it's seemingly more damage than... Okay, let's back away. Let's wait for our other Zedlings, though a smaller group may be more prudent in this case. Okay, so let's F2 up here, build more Zedlings. Okay, so I'm getting used to the hotkeys as well. Okay, so let's see if we can snipe this turret, give us some breathing room. There we go, and then we can kill this auto turret, which actually, those auto turrets are doing more damage than I think I would have expected them to. Okay, so let's swing down here and see if we can snipe this bad boy. Nice, okay. So even a little bit of micro required there. So let's move on in, see if we can get a concave, because these things can only attack, you know, in a straight line for the most part. There we go. And we're not done yet. There's probably some more down here, because we haven't quite made it. Let's see how our Xeyed fares against the Zerg. Okay. I think I'm going to do just fine. Now, eventually, you can get an upgrade called Piercing Points for Zedlings that allow them to do more damage versus armor. It's really, really, really nice. Okay, let's just keep getting more and more Zedlings. Just going to keep rallying them up. I have enough feeding pools. We have more Zedlings coming up. Okay, there's no burrow, so I can't do any sort of burrow micro. I can just sort of micro back and forth, but it seems like it's not going too well for me. That's all right. Let's keep inching in. I'm curious to know if the Zerg are going to rebuild or not. Let's just keep making more Zedlings. And again, the mission is just challenging enough to force you to have to reinforce and learn how to macro, just the, you know, at the most basic level for Xeyed, which is cool to me. I like it a lot. It functions well as a mission 1. Let's back up. Get rid of these units. Now again, I don't know if these units are going to be rebuilt or anything like that, and then we'll walk around and hit the spine crawler. Unfortunately, we're in range of both, but this is fine. Okay, 3 spine crawlers. Let's back out and wait for our other Zedlings. Run away. 2 more Zedlings coming up, and let's just build 6 more and get them up here. All right, I'm going to wait for this next batch of 4, and then we should be able to easily kill this, assuming that they don't rebuild a bunch of units out of the hatchery. But by the time we get in there, I have a feeling they're not going to have time to have built anything else anyway. So, again, this is showing, like, Zedlings are powerful, but, you know, you still have to have decent macro and replace them. You can't just take a small group of them and expect to just wipe the map, even though they're very, very good Tier 1 units. I'm wondering if, so you go 8 Zedlings. I mean, 8 Marines could probably kill a spine crawler, but with more casualties, I would expect. It's mostly just because Zedlings have more health. So let's go ahead and do this again. Keep rallying them up. We've got 9 more coming in, and we're gonna have to, let's see how we fare against the broodlings. Decent. Test phase 4 completed. Evaluating combat effectiveness. Combat effectiveness is at middle range, can be increased by better unit management. How dare you, Adjutant! That hurts. The test is considered a success. We have been given permission to expand our project. Now think of all the amazing things we can accomplish. Gotta get that sweet, sweet funding. Good job, Allen Brothers. I told you we could do it. I already have a few new strain plans for us to work with, as soon as we can get back to the lab. Cool. So again, a very mild Mission 1, but it did exactly what, in my opinion, you should do for a Mission 1, especially when you have totally new mechanics for a player to work with. The mission subtly forced you to learn how to macro at a very basic level with Xeyed. So as we go into the next mission, we won't be really worried about, oh no, which production structures do I need to do what? So it functioned, you know, it makes you think back to when you learned how to play Zerg, if you had never played Zerg before, when you played Heart of the Swarm for the first time. It did very well. It kind of, you know, even though your brain, you didn't actively realize it, but your brain was learning things. And then the next mission came along, well, not the next mission, that was Micro, but then Mission 3 came along in Heart of the Swarm, and you're like, okay, well, I have a general idea of how to macro now, and I don't have to figure it out again. This has been Jayborino. Thanks so much for watching. When we come back, we'll be doing Mission 2. See you then. Bye now.